Acting strange under neon light.
Welcome to the AI Riff, where we cut through the noise and break down the top AI stories of the week with real talk and real relevance. No hype, no fluff, just a vendor-agnostic take on what's actually shaping your world today. Whether you're in tech, lending, or just trying to make sense of the headlines, we're here to separate the wheat from the chaff and the facts from fiction. Now let's get started with your host, Mario Di Benedetto, Rob Katz, Ruth Lee, and me, Kyle Myers. We hope you enjoy this episode of the AI Riff.
Binary prophets riding fading streams.
Welcome to episode 43. I got nothing interesting to say about the number 43.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Isn't it like 6, 7? Isn't that the same thing?
8,
No.
9,
4, 3. No, 4, 3 is going the other way. So 3,
Wow.
4.
already
It's a
off the
countdown
rails.
for Artemis.
There you
Yes,
go.
countdown for Artemis, which is already launched.
Yeah.
So it's negative. It's
Yeah.
negative 4, 3. What do we got? What do we got going on now, Mario?
So for anybody who listened to episode 42, our previous episode 42, it was very much about how AI has kind of on its own gone bad, doing bad things. Today, we're going to take a slightly different spin on a similar topic, which is people doing bad things with AI. And
They'd
it-
never do that. Why would they do that?
where there's an opportunity, right? It seems to be the way people are. I think we talked a lot about human nature in our last show too. This one happens to lean on I don't even want to call it an article. It's something that came out from Interpol that suggests that fraud is just more prevalent, right? People using AI to produce fraudulent things, fraudulent documents, fraudulent IDs, whatever, like everything is just become more prevalent. And I don't think this is shocking to anybody, right? Because if you're going to create more powerful software, it's going to result in more stuff. And that's where there's a will, there's a way, right? People are seeing a window where they can use fraud to make more money, and
Well-
AI makes it easier.
It used to be really hard to create a phony document, and now it's not hard to create a phony document.
it's-
right?
no,
So the
it's
barrier of entry to get to that point is eliminated.
Can I say it? Like, for one of the things we do as a mortgage software company is we have to test our own platform, and we do stuff with mortgage documents. One of the AIs I created can take any data you hand me, and it will create a slew of very good documents that look like, that have that name on the PDF and look like a legit document.
I'm going to call you after the podcast, Mario. I may have a side project for you.
Hey, another side project. Awesome.
Oh, boy.
Hey, what's that number for FinCEN? No, not for FinCEN.
Yeah.
For
Hold it. To be clear,
Interpol.
Interpol was not
Interpol.
talking about me.
okay,
I was not mentioned anywhere in the article.
okay, good.
So Ben, put you on the spot as the mortgage banker right now amongst the four of us. What are you guys doing? I mean, I'll tell you, like, what I do with. So I'm not in mortgage banking right now, but what I do with one of my groups that if I ever have to transfer money and stuff like that, we get on the phone with each other and we have code words that we have to say to each other that have never been in an email. They're not written down any place. We met over lunch and came up with what those words are. And that's how it's like, you will never get a request from me to transfer money out of my account unless you hear me say these words. And that's the point
Banana.
we're at. Because you can do deep fake videos, you can do voice, you can do all this other stuff. But if you don't know the words that we're using, then you're not going to get approval. So as a mortgage banker, do you do that, Ben? Do you talk to your borrowers and your banks and like, all right, it's nice weather today. Do you want my umbrella? Great, we can do that transfer.
And it's funny because I know we were talking about Hogan's Heroes earlier, and I'm thinking the only way we're going to circumvent this is we need that string tied to two cans in order for us to circumvent all the technology in order for us to be safe to be able to leverage
It's
technology.
called a fax machine. The fax
Yeah,
machine was it that was the
Right.
handshake we needed.
I don't, putting my security hat on because I've had to sit in that security. The part that frightens me is when you think about phishing, like just basic phishing, and people are calling you up, and I get 1,000 spam calls a day from somebody telling me I've been approved for a loan. And the fact that I haven't heard the message 13 times and realized it's the exact same person, the first time I heard it, I would have totally said, wow, that's a human being. And so I think about phishing attempts. I think about funding attempts. Like when people are calling from title companies to get funding, like that, this frightens me. And I'm saying to myself, wow, like how do we, and to answer your question, I'm not aware of any fancy code words. And I'm just thinking like, how is it you do this? You need to have another level of testing to ensure that we're making sure that we cover for this stuff. And my mind just raced. So I don't have an answer to your question, to be honest. I don't. It's creating more questions than answers that I can give you.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we talked about, probably 10 years ago when they started the scam of people on Facebook would say, hey, we're going on vacation with my family, whatever. And all of a sudden you're getting the mother, you can tell that by the name, that's the mother. And they reach out to the mother, get the contact information because it's all can be publicly polled. And they come up and say, oh, your daughter Alice is with me right now, and I'm in Mexico, and I've got her held hostage. Send money here, and you're like, you have a recording of her now. You can have her voice and her face and everything saying, please send me money. And we did it a long time ago, and I was joking when I said the word banana, but that used to be one of our, banana doesn't come up in the name of a conversation most of the time, unless you're talking about fruit or something. But that was the code word. You had to say it, and it was a funny joke that my oldest son did, and it turned out that was the name that we used. But that was a safe code, a safe word. And it's like, that's the word you have to say. If you don't say it, we're not going to send money.
And immediately following this podcast, Kyle's going to be calling his kids and tell them that the new word is cantaloupe.
Yeah, the new word is cantaloupe.
So, yeah.
Not antelope. I don't want to hear antelope. I want a cantaloupe.
So can I ratchet this up, down? I'm going to ratchet this because we're all pretty tuned in to what AI's been doing. And maybe, not everybody's going to see this report on Interpol or whatever, right? It's like maybe you didn't see it. But I think we're at least tuned into the AI world enough that we might at least have a suspicious eye towards stuff. So we talked about podcasts, pimping other podcasts. Early on when Kyle and I first started, Google has something, what is it called? Notebook LM. Yeah. And you can actually give its information and it will write a flawless podcast. And you can have one person, two people, whatever else. And it did a really great job. But we decided we wanted to show our faces instead. As far as these are actually us. I have been listening to a lot of podcasts, and it took me until the third episode of a podcast to realize it's Notebook LM. The guy has coded it, and it was only after listening to the cadence long enough that I realized this guy doesn't breathe. Right? He flows so smoothly from one thing to the next, and he never takes a pause. And he has a nice cadence, but he doesn't ever breathe. And it's like, and I was like, and so I'm like, wow, like there's nothing fundamentally wrong with listening to AI, right, as the podcast, but it's like, even I didn't get it the first second, right? And I'm pretty in tune to these things. Like, what's the rest of the world? What is the daily life for other people to be worried about this, right? Does a borrower getting a mortgage have to be concerned whether that broker that they thought was a legit mortgage broker is really a broker? Like, how crazy could this potentially be?
So one of the companies that I have co-founded, Reverse Plus, I've mentioned them on the show before. They have a phenomenal reverse mortgage scenario modeling tool. So one of the co-founders is Dan, and Dan has written the top-selling books in reverse mortgage space. And now, and he writes blog posts all the time, stuff like that. So we got to the point now where we put an audio file up with every blog post that he does, so that if you want to listen to it, you can. And we use 11 Labs, and he recorded his voice into 11 Labs, and now we just upload the text, and it produces an audio that is his voice And you cannot tell the difference between if it was down live or down on 11 Labs. And so we can kick out these audio recordings all automatically based on the blog posts that we write. And you can't tell the difference.
Wow.
So yeah. So your mortgage broker calls you get a recording from mortgage broker. It sure sounds like Dan. Who knows who it is, right?
Yeah.
With
So go ahead. Ben.
With all the publicly available information out there, whether Facebook, Instagram, and for an AI engine to be able to put this all together and to be able to leverage it to somehow figure out that you're not in the country, to call your kids or call neighbors, whatever, to gain access to whatever, it literally frightens me.
Well, and imagine it can do it at scale.
I'm glad that there's no recording of my voice out on the oh shoot, this podcast. My voice out on the internet.
So think about it. If it wanted to do that for every person in the United States, right? It's just a matter of computer cycles, right? To do it. And what's weirding me out as we're talking about this is, yes, our voices are out there, right? So there is theoretically somebody could access our voice and plug it into, an 11 Labs or something like that. With my personal AI, I very often specifically say, write this in my tone, right?
Yeah.
Write this the way I talk.
Oh, man.
And it's almost like I'm asking it to learn too much about me, right?
Fraud me out of $1 million.
Oh my gosh. This is now getting really scary. Seriously.
Yeah.
But-
So
It
Okay.
should be scary, but it shouldn't be. You can be scared of everything. I mean, you can be scared of someone driving a car that's. I live in Arizona in a retirement community that's 90 years old. My wife just called me earlier before this podcast and said someone blew through the stop sign at R.H. Johnson, and it's like, okay, like that happens every day. Those are scary. A big 5,000-pound vehicle coming at you, and we have golf carts all over the place. So it's like, you get hit with a 5,000-pound vehicle and golf cart, you're going to die. Well, that's probably about the same occurrence rate as someone gets totally, crushed or all their life savings taken because they got scammed by AI. But it's also banks themselves, not just the people, the banks, the lending institutions, the companies. It isn't just an individual getting scraped out of their money. It's fraud that's happening that's hurting either reputational risks of companies or it's crushing market share that they have for other reasons. It's not good. Holding
And I'm
people
not gonna-
hostage.
I'm not going to talk to a big bank. Like they've got plenty of money and plenty of people probably focused on this problem. But I will talk to the medium and small lenders, right, that are out there and say, you can't mess around with this. So the example I have that's like in our business is we do a lot of stuff with AI to process documents and to identify them and everything else. And people will say, well, how can you tell whether the document is fraudulent? And I said, in theory, we could have some markers. But the truth is if you want to know whether a document itself has been tampered with, you should be using first-class technology. Google has technology. There's people out there that have first-class technology, and you should trust them to be your screen for these things. Because if there's going to be algorithms that are going to catch fraudulent things, it's not going to be some homegrown guy that did it in his garage who said, I got a really cool thing, right? Not for fraud. You can do a lot of cool things on your own. You can't do that. You're not going to outsmart the best algorithms that are out there, and you need to put that stuff in front of everything you do.
I'm going to cycle back to one of the first things that Ben said when on this whole topic was phishing, and I think really that is still the highest risk, even in mortgage banking. It is the email that somebody gets that sure looks legitimate, that they click the button, that they update their credit card, they put in their password for their network because it looked like it came from the IT department, and they go, right? Or they get the voicemail on their phone that sure sounds like the CEO of the company. And why does he want all those Apple cards? Well, who am I going to question, right? He's the CEO of the company. I'm going to go buy the car. Like, that's the stuff that is probably like the big scary things of the fraudulent documents and all that other stuff. Yeah, that's going to happen for sure in mortgage banking. It's the phishing stuff that is just so hard to figure out what's right and wrong now.
One of the things that we count on, one of the things we used to count on is identifying like the URL is slightly off or there's something that just looked a little unusual. With AI, with the bad actors now leveraging AI to ensure that they fix these things before they go out. it just elevates that threat risk even more.
But it also elevates the detection because you could have autonomous bots running on the machines that look for those idiosyncrasies in an email. Says, hey, wait a second, check this. And you've got everyone has those services that look and quarantine your mail and says, this looks suspicious. Look at why does it's missing a letter out of Microsoft. It's Microsoft, and make sure that you look at this, or they just cleans it out and says it's junk mail.
And if you listen to the last episode, you know that those agents now are starting to not listen to us, and they're going rogue. And the episode before that was it's going to delete your whole inbox and all that other stuff, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I got to tell you though, you mentioned the Apple Cards, Rob. A good friend of mine, his daughter just got out of college, got a job, and fell for that scam. And it was the CEO of the company. She just hired on, wanted to go get these Apple Cards, all this stuff. She thankfully questioned it at the last minute after she spent like $750, and she stopped and said, I'm going to hold on to it. And she didn't send email off the codes and all that stuff. And now she has $750 worth of Apple products. So she's good for the next couple of years in anything Apple. But she was out the money. Apple was like, sorry, so sad. You paid for it. You got credits. You want to buy a watch. It's like, but at least she stopped it. But at least maybe some kids, and I wouldn't, this is someone straight out of college who's not a real technical person, but is in that generation where they're fairly technical. So, I mean, they just naturally, it's just they've been raised with a phone in their hand or whatever, and they know what apps do and how they do it. And I think we're underestimating the human in the loop on some of these, that as it gets better and better, AI gets better and better, the humans and the generations, it may fool me, some old codger that's not sure of this new stuff, this newfangled thing out there, but it's the younger generations growing up with it, and they're hearing all the stories, and they're protecting themselves in a way where they're ghosting these texts and they're not responding. So I don't think it's that. I think it's important to do it from a business perspective, that you have to protect your clients. You have to protect your clients' data. And to that point, to Ben's point, it is scary because you're one missed or inappropriate email away from closing your doors. And that is scary.
It's the business pressure that creates the mistakes. It's not so much that people are not going to be more aware as the technology increases, but as we live our day-to-day lives, the bustle, the pressure of getting something out the door, it's that moment of weakness where the AI will, whatever it is, will get you. That doesn't change.
And if you rely on AI to catch it and it doesn't, the human in the loop may still miss it.
So I think we could be headed for an interesting set of decisions on trade-offs because, and I'll do a little shout out to one of our customers, John Norris, who's the CTO at Benchmark Mortgage. He was talking to me about some technology that he had run into called Dark Trace. And it does a lot of invasive tracing within your network of your AI usage, your patterns of usage of your network, and things like that. And it seemed like it was a really intense tool that was really trying to go next level to be able to protect a company against misuse and things like that. When I brought that to somebody and said, would you consider this? They said, no, that's way too invasive on our employees. We would never watch what they do like that with a tool because they would never trust us. And that's a really hard trade-off, right? I feel like same way you said with young people being, able to spot stuff, I think they're also going to be a little less, they're going to be a little bit more open to, sure, I have to be watched because otherwise something's going to, mess with this stuff. And
nobody in that age group feels that there's anything about privacy at all. So
yeah,
right. So.
Privacy or personal space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, personal space, if as long as they've got their pajamas and their slippers on and they show up to work or the airplane, then they fly to work. Yeah. I love all the children that people are having, and that we're helping this world to have fresh new ideas come into this world, and the young. I do love it, but sometimes, what was the adage? One of these congressmen said it's like life is hard enough. Going through life stupid makes it that much harder. So, but I have a lot of faith in our young. It's just I don't understand them as much as I thought I would.
Listen, I know plenty of companies that could really use an influx of 28-year-olds.
Klarna.
It's a running joke, man. Running joke.
Well, they got rid of those 28-year-olds. Never mind. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So what's a closing? What's the closing question? Wait, your closing question last time I don't think we answered.
Actually,
Sure we did.
I wanted to geek out on something if you didn't mind.
yeah.
Yes.
So the whole time you guys are talking, I'm thinking back to Battlestar Galactica, right? For those
Great
sci-fi
show.
shows.
Great
Yeah.
show.
And the reboot's even better.
Lorne Green.
Is
Yes.
Yeah, we're not going Lorne Green. We're going to go to the newer one. Okay,
Oh.
better. But Commander Adama, the reason he got out of surviving all of the artificial intelligence, the Cylons, was downgrading and not interconnecting his ship, and basically referring back to the tin cans and the cord in order to run his ship. Right? And that was the only way he really saved. He saved the human race, what was left of it, and saved himself.
Spoiler for all the people who haven't watched it. I mean, geez Louise, dude. But yes.
So here's what
Spoiler
I'm-
alert! Something that's that old. That's not a spoiler alert. That's you procrastinated too long.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go long Iron Mountain now, because what you're telling me is mortgages are going back to paper files.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to have boxes and boxes of paper again.
Yeah.
I think
Are we really doing an AI podcast right now?
Yeah, I think it's a lesson in balance. I think that
Thank
what it is, and the reason why I brought it up is that we don't necessarily want to get to the extreme where we're saving the human race by disconnecting ourselves from technology. I think what we need to do is take the lessons, the things that we're discussing, and understand the balance between the two, and make sure we have safeguards.
I 100% agree, Ben.
Yeah. So that was my geek moment. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna give an exit question better than that. So
That's awesome.
no
Well,
minutes.
on that note, I'm Kyle Myers.
I'm Rob Katz.
And I'm Ben Sizemore.
And I'm still Mario Di Benedetto.
And this has been the AI Riff.
Wires hum like whispers in the deep dark night. Shadows dancing strange under neon light. Digits spinning fast like a gambler's hand. The clock chimes change, it's the new command. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear. A melody of progress in every ear. No turning back, the wheels in motion. A tide of cold like the endless ocean. Binary prophets riding fading streams. Data flows like rivers fueling all our dreams. Simple or savvy, it's all the same path. Under skies of innovation, we redraw the map. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear. A melody of progress in every ear. No turning back, the wheels in motion. A tide of cold like the endless ocean. Set the rhythm to the beat of change we sing. Every click and hum a key that rings. A revolution, quiet, but it's vast. Building empires where echoes of futures cast. this ocean.